Tonight, breaking news in Banksia Grove. A woman's body found inside a home. We are live to the scene. Perth's AI camera seatbelt saga. A grieving husband's fined for his wife who's passed away. Tim Picton's accused killer avoids jail after a bail twist. Prime Minister appoints a national fuel boss to manage supply. His blunt message to panic buyers. And the Dockers blood a debutant as the Eagles drop a premiership defender.
This is 9 News Perth with Michael Thomson.
Good evening. A woman's body found inside a home in our northern suburbs this morning. Homicide police tonight investigating a potential murder. Bianca Carboni is live from Mayali Bend in Banksia Grove. And Bianca, police have spent the day at the house.
Since about 9 o'clock this morning, Michael, authorities arriving to find an unresponsive 42-year-old woman inside a home. Paramedics performing emergency first aid, but sadly the woman couldn't be saved. Homicide squad detectives and forensic officers partially closing Mayali Bend today to investigate. Neighbours have described the woman as friendly, saying they're shocked.
It's pretty devastating. We live on a pretty quiet street, so you wouldn't think that this would happen. So it's just really sad. I just feel for her and her family.
It's just very disturbing to see this sort of thing happen.
It is scary, you know, because we already have things happening around us, and now for that to happen, I mean, whatever is happening there, it's scary.
Tonight, a man in his 40s known to the woman is assisting police with their inquiries. Michael, no charges have been laid.
Bianca, thank you. It's Perth's AI camera seatbelt saga. More than 40,000 fines in just 5 months. 9 News inundated with fresh, some heartbreaking stories from drivers frustrated with infringements. Tonight, the state government is encouraging motorists to appeal fines they don't agree with. But some callers to the Department of Transport are sitting on hold for an hour.
Sean's sheriff's wife was snapped by an AI camera, easing her belt off her sore waist on Christmas Day.
She was in such agony, it was absolutely unbelievable.
The 80-year-old has since passed away from cancer, her grieving husband receiving a $550 fine and 8 demerits over the transgression. He's appealed to the Department of Transport and is yet to get a reply.
It's unreal. It's absolutely tragic. In my opinion, if I had been stopped by a police car or a police motorcycle cop or whatever, we'd have explained the situation and he'd have said, on your bike.
This Perth man lives with a rare bone cancer and has a medical exemption, clearing him of needing to wear a seatbelt.
On an impact, if my chest was going to take that, it would just crumble and just go into my organs and there wouldn't be much left of me.
So far, the 69-year-old has racked up nearly 200 demerits and $20,000 in fines since October.
It has occupied a lot of time and it has been very frustrating.
Most withdrawn by the Transport Department, but it is an expensive and time-consuming task.
They actually have to physically have someone there sitting there watching, which to me, as a taxpayer, is also a hell of a waste of money.
The department confirming today the AI camera images are verified by a human before fines are sent out. But these drivers say the law hasn't caught up with the new technology.
The important thing we have is make sure that people have an opportunity to appeal and to hear about the individual circumstances.
I'll seek further advice in relation to resourcing.
As the Road Safety Commission reviews penalties due to hand in their verdict next year, grandfather Ross Taylor says that's too late.
To say it'll be looked at next year, which means they then will pick up another $100 million in fines in the interim, is totally objectionable, it's obscene, and it's a despicable act of poor government.
Changes the Road Safety Commission is considering a transfer of demerits and fines from the driver to adult licensed passengers and issuing a warning first to those with a good driving record. The saga so stressful for some, they're taking preventative action. Disability support worker Samantha Harvey will no longer drive some clients.
If they don't have the capacity to understand wearing a seatbelt is important for their safety and I take the blame, then I could potentially lose my licence.
A difficult decision with a difficult outcome.
The risk is pushing people with disabilities back into social isolation and preventing them from getting to important medical appointments or physio, OT, things that they really rely on to, get through life.
Jenny Shon, 9 News.
Brodie Dewar, accused over a one-punch attack that killed Labor power broker Tim Picton, has avoided jail today. The 20-year-old blowing a positive alcohol breath test against strict bail conditions, but in court it could not be proven.
Brodie Dewar's freedom hanging in the balance.
Were you relieved to be continuing your bail today?
The 20-year-old back before the Supreme Court today after blowing .014 in a random breath test on Sunday morning. Officers suspecting Dewar had consumed alcohol, a breach of his strict bail conditions. But today in court, it couldn't be proven.
Did you drink anything before that breath test?
The court heard very little details on the evidence that confirmed there was no breach. Brodie Dewar's defence lawyer referring to a scientific journal and a short video shared to the prosecutor in private. Dewar, a gas fitter apprentice, is accused over separate coward punch attacks in December last year. One near Kalamunda Hotel on Christmas Day, the other in front of Paramount nightclub in Northbridge, ultimately claiming the life of prominent Labor Party power broker Tim Picton, a father of one and brother of South Australian's Health Minister Chris Picton.
The Picton family has been through hell and back, and my thoughts are only with them as they engage with the criminal justice system, and I hope for their sake that justice is done.
Dewar is yet to enter pleas, bailed to his parents' Les Murdy home. He'll be back before the court next month. Ezra Holt, 9 News.
The Prime Minister is adamant national fuel stocks are secure as he appointed a task force to manage supplies today. His announcement as 2 critical energy hubs were hit in the Middle East, crippling global oil reserves even further.
Qatar's biggest fuel export plant struck by an Iranian missile. Another hit in Saudi Arabia, Iran avenging Israel's targeting of its own gas fields, an escalation in the war that's triggering another surge in the oil price.
Productive capacity is going to be taken offline, potentially dragging out the energy shock for months, if not years.
The longer the conflict the Middle East goes, the more significant the impact will be.
Prices at the pump are to keep rising. Some regional service stations today paying 50 cents more per litre wholesale than they were just 6 days ago. The Prime Minister appointing Anthea Harris, the former chief of the energy regulator, as the National Fuel Supply Coordinator.
To support coordination across governments and sectors.
Her job to ensure fuel gets where it's needed, with the advice of every state and territory. The ACCC investigating anti-competitive behaviour by the major suppliers.
Any price gouging is simply taking advantage of people's anxieties. It has nothing to do with the supply of fuels.
My message to Australians is please do not take more fuel than you need.
We have seen shortages. The government's not on top of it. Now it's asking the ACCC to fix the situation.
Pressures elsewhere in the economy too. Unemployment lifting from 4.1 to 4.3% in February, mostly as a result of more people looking for work.
Our labour market has held up remarkably well.
But inflation from the war will be a handbrake on the economy. Higher fuel prices means higher grocery and farming costs, just when Treasury has downgraded its forecasts for productivity and fertility rates.
All of this economic uncertainty and volatility is a reason for more reform, not less. It's a reason to go further, not slower.
And the Treasurer delivered a speech today giving some clues about what we can expect in the May budget. Here's National Affairs Editor Andrew Probyn again.
For now, Jim Chalmers appears determined to pursue potentially tricky reforms in the budget, which he says will have 3 major parts to it: savings, investment and tax. and it's the last of these that's really going to test the government's ambition to wind back negative gearing and the capital gains tax discount. Controversial tax changes are difficult at the best of times, but the fuel crisis has every chance of getting a lot worse before May. So in the next few weeks, the government will have to decide if it has the stomach for aggravating an already grumpy population.
WA petrol stations are on notice after a spike in price breach reports to Consumer Protection. Comes as the Premier issues a warning of his own. Roger Cook says if fuel supply becomes an issue, we may be asked to use less.
Costs going up, pumps running low, and now stations are accused of hiking locked-in petrol prices.
I was actually taken aback, felt a bit upset, and also a bit angry.
After checking Fuel Watch, Crystalia Taniora filled up at Metro Wangara for $2.39 a litre. Returning 20 minutes later, she saw the price had gone up by a whopping 30 cents a litre.
It's actually heartbreaking. It really is.
In WA, retailers have to lock in prices to Fuel Watch by 2 p.m. the day before. In the past month, Consumer Protection receiving a significant increase in complaints over incorrect pricing.
The profiteering, it doesn't sit well with me. And I know that other people may go there and then they won't be confident enough to actually argue the point.
Fuel rationing was ruled out at National Cabinet, at least for now. But today the Premier did flag a future in which West Australians might be asked to do their bit to help with this fuel crisis.
You can anticipate a point in the future where we'll be encouraging people to use less fuel if they can. That's only if, and that's a big if, that we don't see those fuel supplies coming to Western Australia.
While supply is secured, Roger Cook's focus, distribution. Wheatbelt Development Commission CEO Rob Cossart taking on the challenge here, the State Fuel Security Controller.
So this is primarily someone who is there to make sure that we get the fuel on the ground.
And into the regions where it's needed most. Holly Edwards-Smith, 9 News.
Israel and America's war with Iran is entering a dangerous new phase. Critical infrastructure has been struck in multiple countries and the repercussions will be felt around the globe.
Rage in the name of the Iranian regime. Effigies of Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu set on fire in Tehran. We are all in mourning for the martyrs, this protester says. But the regime is increasingly diminished. Iran's intelligence minister, Ismail Hatib, assassinated by Israel, the third death of a prominent leader in 2 days. Its infrastructure also targeted, Israel striking Iran's South Pars gas field, the world's largest natural gas reserve. In return, the Iranian military vowed energy facilities will be burned and reduced to ashes at the earliest opportunity, and followed through on its threat. Iranian missile attacks on Qatar's main gas facility causing significant damage and triggering a diplomatic storm. From the US president, Israel, out of anger for what has taken place in the Middle East, has violently lashed out. No more attacks will be made by Israel pertaining to this extremely important and valuable South Pars field unless Iran unwisely decides to attack a very innocent, in this case Qatar, in which instance the United States of America, with or without the help or consent of Israel, will massively blow up the entirety of the South Pars gas field. Donald Trump also lashing out at other allies over the critical shipping route, the Strait of Hormuz, expressing anger at the nations who've refused to help escort tankers through. I wonder what would happen if we finished off what's left of the Iranian terror state and let the countries that use it, we don't, be responsible for the so-called strait. That would get some of our non-responsive allies in gear and fast. Australia has joined a chorus of nations condemning Iran's attacks on commercial oil shipping, co-sponsoring an emergency declaration at the International Maritime Council. The question about why the United States proceeded with this war is dominating the national discourse as Americans ask if Iran actually presented an imminent threat. Trump's intelligence boss dodging that question today on Capitol Hill.
It is not the intelligence community's responsibility to determine what is and is not an imminent threat.
It is precisely your responsibility to determine what constitutes a threat.
In the United States, Reid Butler, 9 News.
A damning report into family domestic violence across the state has revealed a shocking rise in the number of cases, up 28% in a year. Today, the WA Ombudsman labelled the system a failure, making a number of recommendations.
Hi, police, please. Police, yes, please. The person who's threatened me before is here.
A 000 call.
You said there's somebody there threatening you. Who's that, ma'am?
Oh, no, they've assaulted me before and they're here now and keep coming at me. Get the away from me.
Before a brutal assault.
Hello, is anyone there?
The call for help from the ex-partner of Michal Vorsek, who earlier this week was found guilty of attempted murder. Just one example of WA's growing domestic violence crisis.
Not all disrespect leads to violence, but all violence starts with disrespect.
A report by the State Ombudsman reveals more than 63,000 family domestic violence incident reports were made between 2024 and 2025, up 28%, more than half considered high risk. The WA Ombudsman calls it a system failure.
They did not receive individualised advice on how to leave, where to go, or what arrangements to make for their children.
The report reveals 9 key findings, including gaps in information collection and insufficient support for victim survivors.
Safety and support services need predictability, and no matter what the pressure, ad hoc or optional processes aren't the answer.
The Ombudsman also handing down 9 recommendations, including improving record keeping and how high-risk cases are escalated. The state government adamant that work is being done to prevent family and domestic violence.
What we're actually seeing is that system reform in action. We have trained the police to identify and respond better to FDV.
Amanda Sabatino, 9 News.
And if you or someone you know is the victim of domestic violence, there is help. Call 1-800-RESPECT. That's 1-800-737-732. A light plane has crashed in the state's north in shallow water at Fisherman Bend in Roebuck near Broome. Just before 11:30 this morning, 7 people were on board. One person treated for minor head injuries. State Safety Bureau says the Cessna plane lost engine power shortly after takeoff. Signed AFL merchandise and clubroom experiences are on offer at Optus Stadium this weekend, but Amanda Sabatino, only if you're an early bird.
Correct, Michael. There are incentives to get fans through the gates in a timely manner. You might remember the debacle at the AFL State of Origin match, which saw thousands of fans left waiting outside the gates. Now, screenshots of tickets are no longer accepted. We're being reminded to have the original barcodes ready ahead of the footy this weekend.
West Coast Eagles are offering signed jumpers, ticket upgrades. Fremantle are offering a chance to visit the rooms before the game to watch players warm up. There's all sorts of things like prizes, vouchers from Ticketmaster.
It's also the first time full-strength beer will be served to those in general admission in new reusable plastic cups. Extra patrols will be put on, but the stadium says they're confident patrons will behave. Michael?
And get there early. Amanda, thank you. Hotter than expected again today. Natalia Cooper in Claremont tonight. Natalia, the maximum came early.
Yes, it did, Tomo. Another really hot day. It did cloud over a bit this afternoon, and some suburbs even picked up a drop of rain. 18.8 was our overnight low before we climbed to that early top of 38.1 around 11:30 this morning. It peaked at 40.4 in the Swan Valley and 40.3 in Pearce. The airport made it to 39.5 and Gooseberry Hill 39.3. To the charts, and a West Coast trough is set to linger tomorrow, so we are going to see another warm day here in Perth, but not as hot as today was. Your full forecast is coming up from a very beautiful and very glassy Claremont a little later in the bulletin, Tomo.
Looks magnificent. Natalia, thank you. Tropical cyclone Narelle races towards the Queensland coast. We're live to the danger zone next. The Australian doctors using a common drug to clear clogged arteries. Ski field horror, a gondola crashing down a mountain. And a homecoming fit for a Queen, Mary back in Hobart to a rousing reception. Far North Queensland is bracing for tropical cyclone Narelle as the system intensifies to a Category 5. Pat Heaney is live in Cooktown tonight. Pat, Narelle's due to hit tomorrow morning.
It certainly is. It is expected to come through at around 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. We've just started to feel the effects of it in the last couple of hours. Big, strong gusts of wind that knock you from your feet and rattle vehicles as they're driving along, and they're only expected to intensify. Category 5 cyclone bearing down on the Queensland coast. The far north Queensland communities have been preparing for a number of days, but as we know, Category 5 is as big as it gets. This Category 5 is still intensifying as well. We're told we can expect in the centre winds exceeding 315 kilometres per hour. That is obviously incredibly dangerous, some very severe winds there, but just not the wind as well. There's going to be upwards of 400, 500 millimetres of rain over the next few days. A lot of the communities here are already cut off to the north and south by road. It's been raining for the last couple of months up here in far north Queensland, so it is only just added to the disastrous feeling or tense feeling that residents are feeling at the moment. They've been told to hunker in place, find the safest, most stable homes or houses that they can for this Category 5 cyclone to cross tomorrow morning. And of course, it has enough power and it potentially will be travelling right across Queensland, right across the Northern Territory and down into WA coming into the early next week.
Huge system heading your way. Stay safe. Pat, thank you. Australian doctors are hoping a low-cost drug could be the key to helping patients with heart disease. The medication already treats gout, and now a new trial is using it to target blocked arteries.
Esther Crutchfield is a patient at this vascular clinic at Box Hill Hospital. A narrowed artery in her left leg had impacted the 75-year-old's mobility.
It's just numbness. You know, my leg was like wooden.
Peripheral artery disease affects 1 in 5 older Australians. You can see the blockage on ultrasound. The red signals the severity of disease.
It's often referred to, unfortunately, as the Cinderella of cardiovascular disease. It's unrecognised.
The build-up of plaque managed the same way as heart disease, and while presentations are not as dramatic as heart attacks,
5-year mortality for peripheral artery disease patients is 20 to 30%, which is as high as some aggressive malignancies.
It can lead to amputations, the risk of having a heart attack or stroke also greater. This anti-inflammatory medication, commonly used for gout, called colchicine, has been shown to benefit the heart in low doses, but its effects on the limbs are now the focus of a new trial to prevent complications.
It's cheap, safe, orally available and can be used long term.
More than 6,000 patients are being recruited globally. 1,000 of them will be enrolled in Australia. The study here funded by the government's Medical Research Future Fund. Esther welcomes the new research after a stent was inserted to keep her mobile.
If you don't mobile enough, you don't have quality of life.
Gabriella Rogers, 9 News.
A horrifying tragedy at a Swiss ski resort. A gondola plummeting down a mountain, killing a 61-year-old woman inside. It's believed the cabin detached from the cable and that gale force winds may be to blame. Switzerland maintains strict safety standards for its ski lift systems, and fatal accidents are extremely rare. Sticky mess in Texas, where a dozen cars from a goods train have derailed in a town near Houston, leaking ethanol and corn syrup. Rail officials have assured locals the spill posed no risk, but said it could take some time to clean up the mess. A warm welcome today for Tasmania's favourite daughter, mobbed by well-wishers in Hobart. Denmark's Queen Mary and King Frederick received the royal treatment on their first official visit as monarchs.
In Tasmania, she was the people's princess. For the first time, she returns as Queen.
Australians.
A homecoming parade for one of Hobart's most famous expats and the King.
Very, very special. So we absolutely adore Mary. You know, she's the perfect queen.
Along the waterfront, a sea of mostly Danish flags. Locals and Danes equally excited.
The King, definitely also Mary. They are really well liked because they are so down to earth, just happy and helping.
Their day began with a ceremony at Government House and included a stop at the world-renowned Mona, the Museum of Old and New Art, the backdrop for a Danish electro-pop performance. But the day's best postcards came while on the Derwent, the couple enjoying a picture-perfect boat cruise, passing the Hobart suburb of Taroona, where Mary grew up.
Yeah, some good memories popped up.
All while creating some new ones, the Queen holding an urchin and even releasing a lobster back into the water.
It was a new experience. I haven't done that before, but it's very interesting to learn about the importance of the biodiversity and ecosystems of this area.
Learning about underwater and above it, touring a shipbuilding facility constructing Europe's largest battery electric ferry. Mary gifted flowers. The couple joined by Prime Minister Anthony Albanese for the unveiling of a plaque. This is their first official visit to Tasmania since 2005. And while there's plenty of business on the agenda, there's nothing quite like coming home.
They are so at ease here, they feel at home, they are relaxed and, you know, they are received with so much attention.
Edward Godfrey, 9 News.
Outrage over a social media post from cyclist Rowan Dennis, who ran over his wife. What we know next. This robot, a first for an Australian public hospital, helping kids walk again. Private island accessible only via cruise ship, a first for the Southern Hemisphere. And tips to save at the petrol pump, how you can shave almost 30 cents off a litre. That's later this hour. Olympian Rowan Dennis, whose wife was fatally struck by a vehicle he was driving, has caused outrage after posting a photo of a car on social media and describing it as a weapon. Perth-born Olympian Melissa Hoskins died following an argument at the couple's Adelaide home in 2023. Dennis was handed a suspended sentence and a 5-year driving ban. 9 News can reveal a convicted murderer from Papua New Guinea is behind the High Court ruling that forced the federal government to abandon ankle tracking of former immigration detainees. Tonight, Labor is under fire for giving the man a visa in the first place.
Mark Bassa arrived in Australia from Papua New Guinea in 2000 as a child. Offered asylum. Within 6 years, he was in jail, convicted of killing Air Force technician Zane McCready in a late-night attack in Newcastle.
I hope that he can give me a second chance as well.
2 decades on, and Mark Bassa is part of the notorious NZYQ cohort, immigration detainees who've committed serious crimes but can't be deported. Until yesterday, they had to wear ankle monitors, a punishment now deemed illegal. The High Court ruling the case raises questions whether the laws are inconsistent with the Constitution. The answer is yes.
Because it should be the courts that are giving punishments, not our politicians.
Tonight, 9 News can reveal the plaintiff in that High Court case was Mark Bassa. The opposition claims he shouldn't have been in the country in the first place. After 12 years in jail for murder, Bassa had his application for a visa knocked back 4 times by the Liberal government. In 2022, under Labor, the visa was granted. Within months, he'd assaulted his then-partner.
These are Labor's laws that have again failed.
The 2-year saga causing political angst for the government.
Do not interrupt. I will not be apologising for upholding the law.
Labor won't risk having its ankle monitoring laws rebuked by the High Court a third time. Instead, it's done a deal with Nauru to take these detainees, costing taxpayers $2.5 billion. Conor McGovern, 9 News.
A new robot is helping WA kids learn to walk again at Perth Children's Hospital. The technology defies gravity, allowing patients to practice the basics and get back on their feet.
Little feet reaching new heights.
Good job.
4-year-old twins Rosa and Eve Sharp are proving anything is possible.
Everything that they face, they just take on head first.
Born at just 27 weeks, the sisters live with cerebral palsy, a new rehab robot helping improve their mobility.
For our kids, they're in therapy for their lives. So yeah, it's nice when they get the opportunity to do something that's a bit different and give some other things a go.
The device, 0G 3D, supports children to safely stand, walk and run as they rebuild strength, coordination and confidence.
The device can follow children around the room as they move, and the body weight support can stay the same as they move dynamically.
From strokes to spinal cord injuries, it can fast-track therapy for toddlers to late teens.
It really intensifies and accelerates the ability of the hospital to get rehabilitation into kids that really need it fast.
So far, 7 clinicians are already trained to use the $700,000 device, helping WA kids on their road to recovery and tracking their progress using inbuilt data.
Being able to use the data that tracks how much support they're given and reduce it over time as they gain those abilities themselves, it's an incredibly valuable tool.
Sophie Fenner, 9 News.
It's the first of its kind in the Southern Hemisphere, a beach club on a private island accessible via cruise ship. Passengers aboard Royal Caribbean's Anthem of the Seas or Voyager of the Seas will be among the first to experience Royal Beach Club La Lipa in Vanuatu. The destination will welcome holidaymakers from October next year. Easy tips to ease the pain at the petrol pump next after sport, combining discounts, even pumping up your car tyres as fuel prices surge. And Australia's rich list, who's taken the biggest hit to their fortune? But first, Paddy Sweeney's here with Sport. And Paddy, a debutante for the Dockers.
That's right, Tomo. He was last picked on Fremantle's list, but he's wasted little time to run out in purple. Chris's chance, putting the sherry on top of a sizzling summer. Cole clipped an Eagles premiership player put on notice, and why the Matildas believe it's not mission impossible to take down Japan. The Dockers have picked a debutant to run out against Melbourne on Saturday. Live to Sean Lindsay, and Sean, a talented teenager, gets his chance at the big time.
Paddy, a little over 3 weeks ago, Chris Sherry wasn't even on the Dockers list. Now he's about to play his first match in the Dockers' first home game this season. The 19-year-old enjoying an impressive summer and earning the final spot on Fremantle's list after drawing comparisons to fellow live wire forward Sam Swikowski. Sherry's selection coming with star midfielder Hayden Young missing after his latest hamstring setback.
Picked up only last month, Chris Sherry wasting no time.
Super excited, yeah. Who would have thought, like, only 2 weeks ago, you know, or even a bit more, I signed as Freo, and now I'm debuting round 2, so yeah, things can happen really quickly.
The smooth mover and high pressure forward to pull on purple for the first time against Melbourne, replacing a yet again hamstrung Hayden Young.
It's a bit tricky because functionally he's good. He ran the other day, he did it early in a game and got through the game, so it was a little bit tricky to assess and a little bit tricky to work out, but yeah, he's going to miss at least one.
Sean Darcy keeping his spot despite doing very little at today's main session. He and Luke Jackson to tag team superstar ruck Max Gawn.
We've got to make sure we cover him off but challenge him in the right ways. His game last week was outstanding. It's like fine wine, getting better with age, the big fella.
Luke Ryan again overlooked. Forward Jai Miss backed in to return to form.
We need to help him as a coaching group to mix up his roles a little bit more and challenge his opponent in different ways, whether that's defensively or getting higher up the ground. It's a mix of things.
The Eagles dropping Premiership defender Tom Cole for Sunday's clash with the Kangaroos. Co-captain Liam Baker returning after completing his suspension from last season. Harry Edwards back from concussion to bolster the defence. Tim Kelly and Harry Schonberg included in the extended squad. Sean Lindsay, 9 News.
Sydney have a slight advantage over Hawthorn as they chase down a third straight win to begin the season. In a tight and intense Thursday night clash, the Swans leading by a point at half-time before making their move in a third quarter blitz, pushing the gap out to 20 points.
Now Grundy gets his moment for 4 in a row and seizes it. Swans on a roll.
The margin reduced to 11 points at the final change. Young gun Nick Watson sending a scare through the Hawks camp, complaining of hamstring tightness before returning to the field. St Kilda coach Ross Lyon has declared his social media algorithm has hidden him from any critique of his side's slow start to the year. Despite having two of the highest paid players in the competition, the Saints don't yet have a win to show for their efforts.
He's no stranger to a headline-making statement, but even this was left field from Ross.
Been a lot of noise apparently, but it doesn't come up on my algorithm, right? So I'm not really across everything.
The coach seemingly unaware his side were the most spoken about team in the past week due to their lacklustre start to the season.
Just because there's noise and rhetoric doesn't increase the pressure. The greatest pressure is internal for performance.
His marquee men, Nazaya Wanganeen-Millera and Tom De Koning, copping scrutiny due to their pretty pay packets. Lyon says it's on them to deal with it.
The moment you don't handle the stress and anxiety, it's time to give it away. You've got to keep leaning into it. That's why it's AFL and it's high performance and it's abnormal.
Brad Scott on the front foot after the Bombers' 62-point belting from the Hawks.
We've done a hell of a lot of hard work to get us into this position, but the reality is, right at the moment, externally, it looks like we're in a really difficult spot.
The coach unflinching, maintaining they're on the right flight path, confirming Zach Merritt is in discussions with the club on a contract extension.
There's been a willingness from Zach and his management to talk to our list management team, and our list management team's had a real willingness to talk to Zach and his manager.
And Matt Rowe's return from a broken finger is set to be delayed after today meeting with a hand specialist.
He's just got to work through his progressions, and once we sort of get past post-bye, then we'll make it probably a firmer adjustment about when he's going to make his way back.
The pain of a 16-year major trophy drought is motivating the Matildas ahead of Saturday's Asian Cup final against Japan. Australia heads into the match as underdogs, but players believe their physicality could unsettle the Japanese stars.
They've won the hearts of a nation and captured a whole new generation of fans for women's football. But there's one thing this Matildas team hasn't done.
We've not won a major trophy.
Since winning the Asian Cup in 2010, the Tillies have come second at the tournament twice and finished fourth at both a World Cup and an Olympics. Players know their time to claim silverware is running out.
It would just be incredible to come away with a trophy for this group in particular. It's a generation of footballers that I'm proud to be part of.
The next shot at glory comes on Saturday against Japan. Great footwork and the shot on the top. The number one ranked team in Asia beating South Korea 4-1 to book their spot in the final. In 5 games at the tournament, the Japanese have scored 28 goals.
They look a complete team at the moment. They look very, very strong. They've had a great tournament and seemingly cruised through most of the time.
Still, belief in the home camp is strong.
It's definitely not mission impossible. You know, we've beaten Japan before. We have our own strengths that I'm sure that they'll be looking at and they'll be worried about.
Australia's biggest advantages, size and strength.
We do have amazing physical players who have engines, who are strong on the ball, can protect the ball, who are really, really quick going forward. So I think that's definitely something that they'll be wary of.
Luke Dovesey, 9 News.
And Liverpool has pulled its Champions League dream out of the fire, powering into the quarterfinals with a 4-0 win over Galatasaray. Half goals ensuring their campaign remains alive. Their first leg deficit. Barcelona, light there for yourself to cheer on for the rest of the season.
Yes, there's still a chance.
Absolutely. Title to come, maybe.
Yes, fingers crossed. Paddy, thank you. Vinyl's $1 billion recovery, loud and proud. That is next, plus how you can save up to 28 cents a litre at the petrol pump. Then Natalia live from Claremont. Natalia, it is cooling down.
Yes, Tomo, the next few days will be in the 30s, but not quite as hot as today, thankfully. I'll be back with your full forecast from a very beautiful Claremont soon.
Welcome back. Here are this Thursday's headlines. Amanda's assisting police with their inquiries into the death of a woman in Banksia Grove today. Tim Picton's alleged killer, Brodie Dewar, remains on bail despite a positive blood alcohol reading. And the Prime Minister is adamant that national fuel stocks are secure as he appoints a task force to manage supplies. More doom and gloom on the share market today, but in the music industry, an old favourite is making a not-so-quiet comeback. Finance editor Chris Kohler explains.
Since the war in Iran started, our share market has lost about $260 billion, not to mention all the extra money we're spending thanks to the oil price rise. It remained gloomy today, another 140 points wiped off the ASX, as economists decided that today's unemployment numbers mean another rate hike in May is still on the table. The Australian dollar slipped, it's buying 70 US cents. And it's already been a big week. It's only Thursday. So here's something a bit different. Vinyl is making a noticeable comeback, according to the US music industry. Total recorded music sales last year were $11.5 billion. $9.5 billion of that came from streaming, but $1 billion came from a resurgent vinyl. That money totally disappeared around 1990 as CDs took off, but it's on the comeback tour now. Who knows? Maybe cassettes and ringtones will be next. Probably not, though.
Thank you, Chris. With the average price of unleaded petrol at $2.41 a litre in Perth tomorrow, motorists are looking for any way to find relief. Money editor Effie Zahos has some tips.
Beating the Bowser now takes more than just one discount docket. It takes a stack. By stacking discounts, you could effectively slash up to 28 cents a litre. First, buy your fuel using a discounted gift card. You can pick these up through motoring clubs, health insurers, or if you don't mind waiting for the savings, cashback sites. Next, use supermarket discounts. Scan your Flybuys or Everyday Rewards card to land a 4 cent per litre discount. Step 3, stack these with state-based motoring club discounts and you could get another saving of up to 10 cents per litre. Finally, add in a store spend like a chocolate bar or a sandwich and unlock discounts of up to 10 cents per litre. Yes, you do have to spend to save here. Combine 4 stackable offers, a gift card, a shopping voucher, a motor app and an in-store spend, and you could effectively save up to 28 cents a litre. Now, this does take some elbow grease, but the easiest savings could be the flick of a switch.
We've done some tests and it looks like between 3 and 4% in using an economy drive mode in your car. And if you add on top of that just a little bit less enthusiasm on the throttle, you can add about another 4%.
If you drive hard, you pay more. Sport mode can use up to 26% more fuel.
Moving to a more relaxed driving method, taking extra weight and wind resistance away from your car and pumping your tyres up, which all costs nothing, could probably stretch you somewhere between 15 and 20% extra economy.
Bottom line, use a fuel app to find the cheapest price, stack your discounts, then make that tank last.
Effie, thank you. Let's take a look at where you can get the cheapest unleaded petrol tomorrow. You can fill up for less than $2.20 on William Street in Beckenham. Cheaper also on Marmion Avenue in Alkimos and on Great Northern Highway in Bullsbrook. Diesel will jump 5 cents to $2.86.7 a litre. And they won't get a lot of sympathy, but the cost of living crisis is hitting the top end of town. The combined fortunes of the 2026 rich list has dropped $25 billion. Tech giant Atlassian, losing $35 billion off its bottom line. WA's Gina Reinhardt managed to keep her spot at the top with $41 billion in assets. Property king Harry Triguboff coming in second and cardboard magnate Anthony Pratt third. And a surprise inclusion, Georgie and Daniel Contos, their Gen Z fashion brand White Fox, netting the pair more than $1.4 billion. The entire list in the Australian tomorrow. A dip in the temperature tomorrow. Natalia has your weather details coming up next.
Welcome back. It was another very hot day in Perth. It clouded over a bit this afternoon and some suburbs even saw a sprinkle of rain. Right now, there is not a breath of wind and it is literally a glass off here at Claremont. 38 was that hotter than expected top. That was after an overnight low of 19 degrees and right now it is 27.7. To the charts, and a west coast trough is set to linger tomorrow, so we are going to see another warm day but not quite as hot as today. Category 5 cyclone Narelle is bearing down on far north Queensland. From late Sunday, the remnants of Narelle will bring increased rain to the Kimberley. It's then set to move off the coast and could redevelop into a cyclone. Around our country tomorrow, a shower or two for Brisbane, showers and 27 in Sydney. Melbourne will be cloudy and 22, and Adelaide mostly sunny and 27 degrees. Back in our north, a shower or two and 33 in Broome. Karratha heading for a mostly sunny 37, Carnarvon pleasant at 32 degrees. Further south, 36 the top in Geraldton. Northam at a very hot 39. Albany will be cloudy and a much cooler 23 degrees. Light winds on the waters, south to southwesterly to about 10 knots all day. Seas below a metre and swell increasing to 1.5. Around our suburbs, places like Ellenbrook and Midland will peak at 38 tomorrow, so still very hot. Closer to the water though, it will be cooler. Fremantle going for 31 degrees. So the official forecast for Perth, tomorrow we are expecting a mostly sunny day, 34 degrees, but it could be hotter if the sea breeze is delayed. That is after a low of 21 tonight. Looking ahead, mostly sunny and 33 on Saturday. Sunday will also be 33, but with sunny skies. Mostly sunny and 32 on Monday. Blue skies and 30 for Tuesday. More sunshine for Wednesday and 31. And Thursday will be partly cloudy and 32 degrees. Nights between 16 and tonight's 21. Well, it is getting darker and darker, earlier and earlier, but this time of year, the nights are just incredibly beautiful, Tomo.
Magic evening down there on the river. Natalia, thank you. That is 9 News for this Thursday, March 19. Thanks for your company. Current Affair is next. Good night.